So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rachel Nelson. I'm the Director of Educational Initiatives and Intergroup Outreach for the Jewish Federation of Greater Portland. And we're delighted that you're joining us here today for our session with Haggadot.com. I am delighted, and I'm going to let Rebecca share about Haggadot.com, but I am delighted to introduce Rebecca. Rebecca Missel is the Director of Partnerships and Operations at Haggadot.com. With experience in large nonprofits, Israeli startups, synagogues, and grassroots organizing, Rebecca has been published in The Forward and holds master's degrees in public policy from the University of Maryland and in Jewish communal service from Baltimore Hebrew University. She lives in Jersey City, New Jersey with her community. And I just want to give you all a heads up. We are recording this session today, and we look forward to sharing it with folks who can't be here today. And I am going to ask if you're able to keep yourself muted unless you're participating and providing questions or feedback. That'd be great. And I'm going to turn it over to Rebecca.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. It's great to be here, I guess, this afternoon in Portland. I have spent a lot of time there. It's sort of a second community. My brother lives there, so it's great to connect with a city I really love. And thank you for welcoming me. So tonight we are going to talk about Passover. We've got a little less than 2 weeks. We're just going to dive right into it. So I'm going to share my screen. Can I get a thumbs up? Yes, we can see this. Great, awesome. So who and what is Haggadot.com? So Haggadot.com is a platform that invites every Jew, regardless of their background, to find a place for themselves in the Passover story so that they can create more meaningful, personal, and connective Seders. And today we're really gathering to consider how we can fall back in love with your Seder this year. And I would love, as you're in the chat to share, either your favorite part of the Seder or what you're really excited about this year. I know we may not be under the most ideal circumstances this year, but there's still a lot to be grateful for that we're going to cover this afternoon. So Haggadot.com, we'll do a little tour of the site, but this is what it looks like when you are in one of our Haggadot, and you can use the website to make your own Haggadah and share it with your friends and family. And again, we'll talk a little bit about that in a few minutes. Haggadot.com is a project of custom and craft Jewish rituals, and we are a design lab for the Jewish community, experimenting with technology, media, and video to imagine new formats for engaging with ancient traditions. And I am so grateful to the Jewish Federation of Portland for welcoming us here tonight, or this afternoon. I'm sorry, I keep saying tonight because I live in New Jersey and it is nighttime almost here. So here's what we're going to do today. So we're going to start with a tour of the Haggadot.com website. Then we'll talk a bit about what it means to be hosting a Seder this year, and really digging then into what it is that we need from Passover now, right? We've all been through a lot in the last year. And I think the beauty of Passover is that it can offer so much for us and can really help us as a ritual way of sort of unpacking this past year. And then we'll leave plenty of time for tips and, on the technical side, and any questions that you all have. So with that, I am going to switch over to the Haggadot.com website. Great. So when you go to Haggadot.com, this is what you'll see. And you have a couple of different ways that you can use the site. I'll first show you, you can come here and scroll down and see some of our favorite Haggadot that we've curated for you. Those include really popular ones like this is our 10-minute Dayenu Seder that's been updated for this year and produced by the Jewish Grandparents Network. This Haggadah is great because it's a standalone, downloadable. It has everything you need and is really wonderful if you are leading a multi-generational Seder that is virtual. There's other ones on here. We just created this new one called the Jew Belong Haggadah. And this one is a little bit irreverent, a little bit fun, a little bit challenging. And what's great is you can use this as your template. So if you like this one, but you still want to edit it, that's really the beauty of what Haggadot.com allows you to do. So you can, again, pick one of our existing Haggadahs, or let me come back here to the homepage. You can make your own. You make your own title. You pick a template. You can select secular, which is a secular humanist sort of take on the Seder. Liberal, which is a sort of reform-ish Seder that includes all the blessings and like the Manish Tana and everything in Hebrew, but everything else is in English, and everything is transliterated. And then the traditional one has the full Haggadah in English, in Hebrew, and transliteration. So if you want the whole thing, the traditional one is a great place to start. It's also a great option if you want to start there and then take out the stuff that you do or don't want to do. You can really make that your own. You can also start with a blank Haggadah and really get creative and do all kinds of fun things. You can invite people to collaborate with you. You just enter your email address. And then public is a great option if you are going to be collaborating with your friends and family. And if you want to be creating content on the site that other people may want to look at. If you don't want other people to see your creation, which is totally legitimate for any number of reasons, you can just make it private. And that's a great way to do that. There are also ways, we have just a lot of like fun, new, different kind of Seders on here. We just added this one from PJ Library featuring Shira Klein. And this is an entirely video with a few like text pieces, video-based Haggadah. And it's just clips from YouTube that you can watch. So again, if you've got little ones that are maybe a bit zoomed out and you want to kind of pop in and out of the Seder, these videos are a great way to enjoy a few moments of Seder, or 10 minutes, hop out and do something else, and then come back into it. So if your Haggadah is private, only you can see it. So I recommend that if you're going to collaborate with family members, that you make it public. And then what you can do is right after Passover, just make it private again. And then you can also, the other great thing is on the site is that you can always come back to your Haggadah year to year and keep adding to it and keep playing with it and making changes. Another really popular Haggadah that I always like to highlight is the Comedy Seder. This is full of skits and songs. I don't recommend, necessarily taking this as like, I'm going to go through all of this page because it's a very big Haggadah. But if you are making your own and you're looking for a few moments of levity, a few moments of silliness, a few, whether it's through a skit or a song parody or something, this is really a fantastic place to come. We update it regularly. I think there's a new skit in here about having, right, there it is, about having a sourdough starter as the real reason why we have matzah. That was written recently. So there's a lot of fun ways to use the site. You can also come to our contributors page and find content that's been created. If there's a certain kind of organization that you really like, then we have some of those listed here. And really, I think it's great, especially now where you've still got a couple of weeks, to just come on the site and play and looking to find different things that are really interesting to you and to get to work with. So I'm going to come back to our presentation. Great. So now that we kind of have an understanding of how to use the site, what does it mean to actually host the Seder? So we always really believe at Haggadot.com that hosting any kind of gathering, including a Seder, starts with purpose and really answering why, the question, why are you gathering, right? Why is this night different from all other nights is really the core of any Seder. So coming up with that reason really can help you drive every other decision. So depending on why you want to get together, you may have different answers to how you'll gather, when you'll gather, what you'll eat during the Seder or read during the Seder, Will you be in person? Will you be on Zoom? Will you be with a family that's all been vaccinated, or in your pod? Be a hybrid, right? There's a lot of different opportunities this year that are really exciting for us to embrace. And as far as what your purpose might be, for me, I know a lot of why I'm excited for Passover this year is to celebrate reaching this moment, right? Like this was a really heavy year for a lot of us, and just the ability to take a moment in time to say, wow, like we made it, we're here, I think is worth lifting up. I think also the idea of reconnecting with rhythms and seasons and Jewish time. I think, I know it was daylight savings today, and our sense of time has already been so weird during the pandemic, and I think daylight savings just makes it even stranger. And I think that something like the Seder, that's so cyclical, that's such a familiar thing for many of us, is really beautiful. And because it's a holiday that's so tapped into nature, here in the Northeast, we're starting to see daffodils and tulips are just starting to come up. I'm sure there's other things starting to bloom in Portland, and how beautiful that is, and the like promise of springtime. And also I think that there's a real purpose in connecting to tell our stories and find comfort both in new and traditional rituals. Part of what it means to be the hoster with purpose is to be a host, right? So as a host, you set the rules and you wield authority. So it is on you to use that authority generously. And one of the ways you can do that is by setting the rules for a temporary world. So you may want to begin your Seder with a transition by having music, by taking a collective deep breath, singing. You can pay attention to table design and dress code. I think this is the year either of like the super fancy dress Seder or the pajama Seder. I think either one this year this 2021 is like the time to play with that. You can also invite everyone to have something on hand in advance. So you just, email your guests, however you're coming together, and to say, I'd love if you can bring something with you to the Seder that represents the last year for you, right? And for me, for example, I started growing plants in the last year. I had never had plants, no pets, nothing like that, and now I have like 10 plants. So that might be something. I've nurtured these plants in this last year. They're really meaningful, and I think it would be super fun at a Seder to invite that, just to see what people come up with. I think especially kids, I would be so fascinated to see, like, if you asked a kid, to bring with them to a Seder, what was meaningful to you in the last year. And I'm so excited to like see how that plays out in some families. I think it's also great as a host to help remind your guests that we are not all just squares on these screens, right? That we have the ability, and the Seder really helps us with this, thinking about how we engage all five senses, right? Our sense of sight, smell, taste. I think the Seder has lots of opportunities, really smelling the parsley, really, do you eat the spiciest, most bitter maror this year, or the sweetest haroset you can make? I saw Rachel post about her her grandmother's Italian haroset recipe, right? So do you really, really want to focus on that as like a beautiful way to help engage your senses, thinking about touch and sound, but also silence and breath are really great ways to help us sort of get back into our bodies after this year of so much digital time. And I think that all of those apply, again, whether you're meeting in person or virtually in some way. Collaboration and giving everybody a role is a wonderful way to use that hosting authority. So that could be, if you're doing something that's in person, but not in person, right? I know some folks might be doing little pods where, where we're outside in a park, or where, there's my family and there's your family and there's another family, and we're all going to be on the Zoom together. Maybe one person's going to make the matzo ball soup, and one person's going to make the haroset, and one person is going to make a salad. And can you figure out ways to share there? And also, using that collaboration to make your Haggadah. I think it's great to just remember that how special this group is, that will only gather this way, this one time. And I think that that's just always, again, something to sort of center you and to help you focus in these moments. So thinking about what it is that we need from Passover now, right? Again, like it's been a year, and rituals can help us sort of bring our whole selves to the Passover table. And we like this sort of framing of what a ritual is, that a ritual is rooted in intention, giving something your attention, and doing it with repetition. And, celebrating is really, it feels maybe more like a choice than it has, like, in the past. And that this is really, the rituals are really an opportunity for us to to mark these occasions. And rituals often emerge as a response to our needs, especially in times of uncertainty. If you think about so many of the rituals that we consider very ingrained, were new and were created to reflect the realities of their time. And so this is an opportunity. And we very much believe in this at Haggadot.com, that each of us has the power, and the creativity to make rituals that are authentic to our lives and our needs. So, in thinking about what, take the time to think about what it is that you need from your Seder this year, and what rituals you want to get out of this, so that you can come out the other side of Passover. How do you want to feel about it after? So in case you're like, I have no idea, Rebecca, here are some ideas for you. So thinking about vulnerability, I think, is really one of the beautiful kind of ways that we can bring our whole selves to the Passover table. So I thought a lot about, where are places where we may need help and comfort. So I love the idea of using orchats, which is the first hand washing that, if you recall from your Passovers of past, we do this first hand washing, and it's totally symbolic, and there's no blessing. So like, you get up, you wash, you sit back down. I think this is an opportunity to add our own blessings, to think about, it can be, you can say the regular hand washing blessing if you really want to, but you can also think of another thing to bless and lift up. Maybe it's having clean, safe water available. Maybe it's just having, the ability, after this year of so much hand washing, just to mark that moment. I also think that the korach sandwich, which is when we mix the bitter herbs with the haroset, is a great opportunity to do some reflecting. You can discuss at your table, what does it mean that we're eating this bitter thing, right? That we're reminding ourselves of hard times while we're living in hard times, right? So what does it mean to do that? And also talking about, how do we sort of mix these two together? And, there's a lot of Jewish tradition that's very into the idea of mixing happy and sad. And so I think the korach sandwich is kind of a really special place, as like another sort of point in our Jewish lives, that we can pause and reflect on that. We're also big fans of getting creative. So I shared the comedy Seder. And I'll also say all of the links that we're talking about will be shared with folks afterward. So don't worry about writing anything down with that. But we have all of our skits and songs and parodies on the site. There was this last year, there was a Saturday night Seder that featured a whole bunch of celebrities, that I think can be fun to revisit. Other places where we can find help and comfort, the Kiddush, right? We say Kiddush 4 times during the Seder. You can say the regular blessing, and or use these as an opportunity for a guest to make a toast, right? And you can really toast to anything you want. And maybe it's, just lifting up the idea of togetherness, the idea of like the joys that we've found in the last year, right? There's a lot of different ways that you can use the practice of making a toast to find space in the Seder to really contextualize, everything that's been happening. The other one that I really love is Magid, which is the storytelling part. So thinking about, after we read, the 10 plagues and we spill out the wine, thinking about 10 miracles of the past year, right? And I have to stress, there is no such thing as a too small miracle here. That miracle can just be that you kept your plants alive, right? Like that is a miracle. For me also, I've gotten to spend a lot more time with my extended family who lives all over the country this year, because we're all home on a Saturday night, and so we can have cousin game night. And to me, like, that is a miracle, getting to know that family better than I have before. So I think that it's also like a really great way for you to reflect and for your guests, and I think to like build those connections and bonds with the other people at your Seder. So another thing that we are big into is the idea of ending well, right? That closings matter as much as beginnings, and that all gatherings have to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And that you never want to end your Seder with logistics, right? It's always good to sort of give any kind of details, any kind of follow-up, thank everybody, and then close with purpose. This is your last opportunity for guests to make meaning, to reflect on the experience that you've shared. Again, singing is a great way to do this, sharing a closing breath, doing a group toast. I love, it's funny, we had written, this next year in person when we did these webinars last year, and here we are in 2021. So maybe 2022 will be the year that, we are all safe to gather again in person. I'll model for us at the end of this webinar, something that we like to do at Haggadot.com to close things. It's very silly, but we do a cheers all together, so we can do that later. But I think this again is part, and the Seder has this built into its structure, right? Like the Seder has a natural ending. I think though a lot of folks don't always get to that second half of the Seder with because of the meal in the middle. And we've gotten a lot of questions in the last few weeks of these webinars about, do we eat on camera? Do we not eat on camera? How does that work? I am personally not a fan of the eating on camera, fully on camera. You may want to, a lot of folks, what they do is they sort of keep their cameras sort of like on-ish, and somebody plays music while people are eating. And you kind of give a kind of a time frame for folks to eat and then come back together. Another option is just to snack more heavily in the first part of the meal, and then do the full Seder and then take the break. Or the other one, and we actually have a Seder for this on the website to do, some people, the Moishe House in London created this. It's a reverse Seder. So they start with the Afikomen and they end with that first Kiddush. So it's a very different way, but if you've got folks who get hungry, you get to the food faster in that meal, in that structure. And then you will probably, that's a fun one also to do if you are in a small group in person and just want to mix it up. We did a whole webinar about sort of breaking the Seder rules and thinking about structure differently, taking your Seder and making it an all-day Seder, right? So you're going to do 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there, or you're going to do a walking tour Seder, like a progressive Seder. If you're with folks who are living near each other, is a great option as well. But yeah, there's a lot of ways. And then of course, the other end of that is doing like a 10 to 30 minute Seder, which is also wonderful. Just a couple of other quick tips. We like using, especially if you're with a family, to use gallery view and to welcome guests as they're arriving. Again, having music. You can collaborate with people on the site, use the interactive view on the site and play videos, which is a great option. And I'll show folks, we can hop off of this and I can show you how to share your Haggadah. In terms of how to sort of balance Haggadah with the screen of you're doing a Zoom Seder, we recommend, our sort of favorite thing is to use your computer or laptop or television if you're casting to your TV as the screen where you're going to be able to see everybody's faces. Separately, you can use the Haggadah on, if you have an iPad or a tablet, it's sort of perfect for that kind of structure of a book. So to have that on there and you can follow along there, as opposed to doing the split screen. Obviously, if you don't have a second device, then split screen and share, have the host share the Haggadah on part of the screen and have everybody's faces on the other side. Always good to have your videos and links ready in advance. The Jews have not yet crashed the internet on Passover, but there's always a first time for everything. So always good to have your technological backups. Lighting, background, and camera angle is always really important. I think a lot of us have kind of learned some of these things in the last year, but always helpful. Those things and knowing when to mute and unmute. And the other thing that I think is sort of like a fun tip is to remember that this frame here is like a theater, right? That you can really play with this space. You know, you can play with moving forward and backward and side to side, or if you've got family with you, just to really get creative and don't feel constrained by this necessarily. So I'm going to pause really quickly and see if anybody has questions before we jump back into the website. Any questions about different kinds of Seders that you're having, how you're going to kind of balance or troubleshoot? Troubleshooting is one of our favorite things. So please feel free to ask any kind of questions that you're dealing with right now.
I have a question. If you have an intergenerational Seder and you're trying to engage the kids like in advance, can children, let's say, upload their artwork or things like that to be part of the Haggadah?
Great question. So yeah, let's do a little bit more on the site and we'll kind of dig into there. So great question. So once you're logged in to, and let me close some of these screens. Once you're logged into Haggadot.com, you can create your own content. So the way you'll do that is you'll log in and you'll see a little icon here at the top. It'll have if you're not an organization or something, you'll just see a little smiley face here. And you'll log in and you can go to either new clip or my library there at the top, but we'll just go to new clip and we'll say test clip. And you can categorize your clip. So maybe if it's your child's art, excuse me, it's going to be under children. This isn't, you don't have to do this, but you can. You do pick a Haggadah section, and that helps you to put it into your Haggadah. So let's say your child made a picture of the 4 children. You create clip, and then you can make a couple of different kinds of clips. So the first is a text. So any kind of Haggadah can have any kind of clip, I'm sorry, can have text in it. You can also put in a source if you maybe want to put your kid's name as the source, which is kind of fun. You can do that. Then you can use different types of media to add to your clip. So if this is a picture, you'll just, as long as that picture is saved as a PNG, a GIF, a JPEG, or a JPEG, you can upload it. It can only be 12 megabytes, which is usually pretty good. And you can always sort of downsize the file if you need. And you just choose your file that you want to upload. We can make this one here. Maybe. Okay. And great. Just kidding. Normally your Google Chrome won't crash in the middle of that, but let's try this again. Hold on. Okay. Great. So then you can just choose your up file and upload it. And let's see if we can get it to work this time. Great. And you just hit upload. And there's my image. And I can double check and click view to make sure that it's there. And you'll have your text below and your source here. You can also do, instead a music clip, we can take files from Spotify and Vimeo, or from YouTube, video clips, you can do YouTube. My one thing on the video clips is that you make sure that you get the embed code as opposed to just the link to the YouTube. And just really quickly, because this comes up a lot. So on a YouTube clip, we'll just pick something random. Love what YouTube gives us on this. It is always very strange. So just so you know where to look, under any YouTube clip, where it says share, you want to get this part here that says embed. And essentially you just hit copy. And what that does is it allows us to essentially host that video on our site, as opposed to just having the link on there. So that's sort of clip making 101. So the question came in from Randy about engaging a 5-year-old. I'm going to stop sharing this. Whose mom is not Jewish, dad is Jewish, doesn't know much about Passover. Great question. So the first thing is I would say the Dayenu Seder is a really wonderful, quick Seder. It's designed to be done in 10 minutes. I think in reality, it probably takes about 20 to 25, depending on how chaotic your household is. Because it's not like kids have a really great track record of just sitting there quietly and letting things happen, right? That's like not how children work. So I'm gonna tell you to manage your expectations on the 10 minutes, but definitely within less than a half an hour. And so that's a great way to do it. I think the question about engaging people, what I always say is your enthusiasm is really powerful. If you love Passover and if it's important to you, that 5-year-old may or may not get it this year, but they're going to get it over the years, because this is something that you truly care about. Even if their parents maybe are less enthusiastic, it's a connection to you, and it becomes a family tradition. And even if that tradition is on Zoom, that's okay. The other thing is, I recommend, depending on whatever Seder you want to use, even a 10-minute version, or, we have a lot of other options for kids. We have a few family favorites and a few other kid-friendly versions. I'll pull those up while we're talking. Whatever Seder, whatever Haggadah you're using, I think the main thing is pick out the parts that you love the most, right? If you love Eliyahu Hanavi, if you love, doing the Korach sandwich and, a few other things, pick out the 5 parts of the Seder that you love the most and do those and focus on those. And don't worry as much about doing every single thing, right? First of all, there is no Seder police coming tell you, oh, you didn't do every part of the Seder. I've never used that term before, but I think we all kind of get that, right? There is no Seder police. There is nobody who's going to come say, you didn't do the 4th cup of wine and sing Hallel. They're not coming. So if you don't find meaning in those parts of the Seder, it's okay to put them to the side. Maybe when, the kid is older, or maybe when everybody's able to be together, that's a thing in 2022. You're we're doing everything because we can this year, right? And the kid falls asleep or leaves the Seder table halfway through, and that's also okay. Again, I think the most important thing is your love for this holiday and conveying that to them, and that will come through. So I shared in the chat our coloring book Haggadah, which is super beloved and is a complete Seder that includes, every page is a coloring book page. Coloring is fun for everybody. Adults love it too. So it's a great option. And the favorites for families is a good one. There's also one, let me find that real quick, that is a young kids Seder that a lot of folks like. Yes, so then there's a question about printing. So let me come back here again to the site, and I will walk you through a few more things. So there's a couple of different ways that you can use, once you've kind of either designed your Haggadah or decided to use one of the existing Haggadot on the site, there's a couple of different options you can go with. So you can share the Haggadah, and this is just a link to the Haggadah. I think this is the sharing the URL of your unique Haggadah is great when it's still in progress up into like a few days before Passover. I don't recommend just using the site for your actual Seder, because I'll put it this way, like last year we had 450,000 people use the site. It's a lot of people, and every once in a while it does, while we don't crash the internet, the site can crash, and it's just the last thing you want to do is be starting your Seder and not be able to get to everything. So to do that, you can download. So I will take this opportunity to, again, graciously thank the Jewish Federation of Portland, who is supporting us here tonight. And if in using the site, if you find it valuable, we are a completely user-supported organization. We're a lot like public radio, where small donors like all of you help us keep going and help us do this work. So if you are able to donate when you download your Haggadah, thank you. If not, you just click here on the word download, and everything on the site is free. Like, I want to be clear, like, again, like public radio, you can access anything you want for free, and it is helpful if you are able to contribute. So you have a couple of options for how to download your Haggadah. Several of them are available in this booklet form, which is fun if you're looking to print it and you want to do like the physical folding and making so that it comes together like a little booklet. If not, it's a little bit complicated, but it is doable. And I will say the images show up a little bit smaller. The other option is to download in portrait mode, so vertically, and you can do that in either a Word document or a PDF. If you are a person who likes to tweak and edit things, and it is a piece of content that's been created by somebody else on the site, I recommend the Word document option, because then you can play with things. The PDF is obviously a PDF, so it's not editable. But then you can download these, print them yourself, or just email the attachment of the Word document or the PDF to your guests. So I'm going to check the chat here. Oh, the Velveteen Rabbi. Thank you. Yes, the PJ Library stuff. Yes, there's lots. We have stuff from PJ Library on the site, and then PJ Library has additional resources themselves. Is the Velveteen Rabbi on the site? I know she has some things on here. I don't know if she has her whole Haggadah on here. Let's look. I'm going to put my email in the chat, and if you can, whoever asked that question, to please email me, Linda, and I will share with you what I can find of hers. I know she's got some stuff on the site. I don't know if it's her full Haggadah. It's oftentimes what folks do is they'll share a part of their content and then redirect folks to their site. So that may be what Rabbi Barenblatt did, but I know we do have some of her content. I'm going to stop sharing for a second. Other questions, again, love the troubleshooting questions or the other just like resourcey questions. Are folks mostly having hybrid Seders? Are you gathering in person with some people and on Zoom with others? Or how are your families doing it? I also say you can unmute. This is the part where you can feel free to unmute too. I know you're all in Portland, and so you're very polite. I'm in New Jersey. People are much more forward. Small in person, hybrid, great.
I'll over Zoom.
Sorry?
Nobody in person.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a mix. And like, look, I think that, the beauty of this year, it's funny, last year, we did a similar version of this presentation where it was very technologically based, right? Because a year ago, a lot of us were still learning Zoom, right? And this year, we've really sort of shifted our focus because we've all learned Zoom so much in the past year, for better or for worse, or for neutral. And it's been a really, it's really interesting. I do think that there's a lot of opportunity. Oh, going to Atlanta to Ramada Rome for all of Passover. Wow. That's amazing. Linda, tell us more.
Well, I wanted
Oh.
to go somewhere that had a traditional Passover, but was egalitarian. And so there weren't a lot of options. Ramah is kind of the only one. And it wasn't as expensive as I thought it was going to be. So, and I have a niece who works there every year. So it's pretty excited.
It's exciting. I didn't know that places were doing gatherings like that this year. That's great. Yeah,
They
I
have a
think that,
lot of rules. It's
I'm
very
sure.
COVID aware.
Good. Glad to hear. Wow, I'm gonna have to ask about that. I did not know. Very cool.
I know it's too late if you want to go now. They cut off registration.
I don't think I'm allowed to leave for Passover much given this job. I think I'm pretty locked down here. But thank you. Other questions about different types of Seders, different ways of engaging with folks? I think Terry may have a question, maybe. No, okay, fine. Are there things you're excited about for this year?
Janice, you're muted if you're trying to talk to us. I can't tell.
I can't tell either. Hold on.
Oh, you muted yourself again. Just click once.
I think I messed that up. That was my fault. Nope.
Oh.
Nope, still. Hey, there we go.
Okay,
Go for
I'm
it.
inspired because I'm the host and I have one guest and it's in person. And it makes me think doing more in the future. But Mike, let's see, I was going to ask, those links, will they be available or this is our chance? You have to copy them?
No. Rachel will email out as a follow-up all the links. So no stress there. And if there's anything else that you do have questions about, my email will be is in the chat. So if you want to copy that down,
Yes. Thank you, Rachel.
I'll put it in again. Yeah. And I'm happy to answer. So it's going to be you and one other person in person.
Yeah.
I love that because then that means like you can. I feel like that's like so like we always think of Passover as like this massive thing, and I kind of love this like very intimate, personal Seder.
Thank you. And I've already just from this. I think I'm going to put it in my home office with the fireplace because this is where the computer is, so I can interject the comedy.
Nice.
Yeah, very comfortable. Like you're supposed to be all relaxed anyway, and on that night. So
we're planning a self-care Sunday Seder in my family. So yes.
Oh. Okay.
So I think, yeah, I really think this is the year to embrace alternative Seder structures and to play with the ideas. If I'm online working on the site and run into questions, yes. So you can always email me. You can also email. We have like a help link on the site, but you can also email info@haggadot.com. That's our help desk. And we can always troubleshoot and help folks there. I will say, like, it's not, we are a small organization. And so we are not 24-hour help desk assistants, but 5 days a week, mostly like either UK or East Coast time, we have you mostly covered.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Other questions, other sort of creative ideas that are coming up, challenges. We love struggles and challenges too, I will say, like always open to those.
If you download the Haggadah, you're not going to get the links to videos and music, right?
Yeah, so the videos, it works a little bit, I think, I have to remember. It's always, I would say, whether or not you download it, it's always good to have the video links open if you're going to be doing an online Haggadah. It's just, you never quite know what's gonna, it also, sometimes people upload the videos correctly and sometimes people don't. So I always recommend having the videos open in a separate link or a separate like window on your browser if you're going to be doing videos during it. It should hypothetically, if it's downloaded as like a Word document, it should work, but sometimes it can get a little tricky. It looks like Amy had a question. Oh, sorry, Linda, go ahead first.
So, but if you print it, you're not going to get the videos.
If it's printed, right. Like I cannot make the videos work in print, but you could, if you're printing it, again, if you've got a computer, I don't know if you're doing in person or virtual, but if you're going to print it out, have a copy, you could also have, if you're around a table in person, have a laptop handy and pull up the videos and have them play. You could do that. Amy, what was your question?
My son and his fiance got engaged this year. So, it's been a year of miracles. But it's also a year of COVID. And my husband and I are in our late 70s. We've had our vaccinations, but don't feel comfortable inviting people over for an in-person Seder. And my son and his girlfriend are in Los Angeles, and we're in Vancouver, Washington, which is a suburb of Portland. Yep. So would you like to come to our Seder? You're going to be in the neighborhood.
I'm not, no, I'm still in New Jersey, but my brother lives in Portland.
Well, there's 8 days if you're going to visit him.
My brother would love that, as would my best friend who's in Eugene, and my godsons. They would love that. But next time I'm in town, I will let you all know. Portland is up high on my list of post-vaccination visits, but thank you.
But we're 10 minutes from the I-5 bridge.
Awesome. No, I know exactly where Vancouver is. Have I ever been there? No, but I do know it is a thing.
It's time.
Thank you. My friends always lived in like the southeast part of the city, so I never got up there. So yeah, I think Terry's question about, making it relevant and connecting. I think first of all, look, like the fact that the Passover Seder is about literal plagues and about it, but it makes it really relevant to our current times. But also I'll say just the beauty, and this is, I think, for me, one of my favorite things about the Passover Seder as a sort of structure is its incredible flexibility. So I think if you're looking for, there are, I'm going to pull up a couple of options for like very sort of modern takes on the Seder here. But I think that you can really, A, find different resources on the site, and B, I think really use the structure of the Seder to figure out ways to make it feel responsive to you. I think that it's a really beautiful ritual for that. So I'm attaching the first one there is this Hunger Seder, which came from Mazon, which is an anti-hunger organization. And they have a whole Haggadah focused on issues of hunger. The next one is a human rights Haggadah from Truah, which is a human rights organization for among rabbis that put together a Haggadah. And then this last one is a compilation. It's our Justice Haggadah that takes like a lot of current issues and puts it together. There is also a Black Lives Matter Haggadah on the site if you want to contextualize the Seder in that way. I think if you're just sort of thinking about, I think one of the great things with the Haggadot.com site that I love is you can have a whole justice or hunger or Black Lives Matter focused Seder. Yes, I'll make sure that those links are included. You can do that whole Seder in that way. And if that's not what you want, if you don't want your whole Seder to be about that, you can also make it a part of your Seder, right? You can take a clip. So here, I'll show you how to do this actually. We did not talk about this. So let's say I'm here looking at this Justice Haggadah. And let me scroll through a bit. Great. So Oh, you know what? It's funny. Whoever asked about the Velveteen Rabbi's Haggadah, yes, there is a part of it right here. So let's do this one. So I can click on this little plus sign on any of what we call, these are our clips. I can click on that and add it to my Haggadah. So if I'm in the process of creating my own Haggadah, and again, like this is our admin account. So we have a lot more Haggadot in here than a normal account does. But you can use this and add it to your Haggadah. And that way, if you're not looking to have a whole, justice Seder or a whole Seder about human trafficking or anything else, you can take pieces, especially from these sort of thematic Haggadot. This is a blessing for social justice with really beautiful calligraphy. And you can, again, just add that to your existing Haggadah and make it sort of, a taste of that in your regular Seder. There's also women's Haggadot on there. There's an LGBTQ Haggadah on there. So I really encourage you to play on the site if you have the time. And you want to have these elements woven into your Seder. There's an immigrant justice one, and they're all a great way to weave these things together if it's not necessarily going to be your whole Seder. It's a good way to make it a part of. I think we got time for a couple more questions if there are.
Quickly, once you click on the plus, then, I mean, is it a cut and paste thing, or I don't know how you put it in?
Okay. Yep, I'll show you. I'm sorry.
Or I can, yeah, okay.
Yeah, no problem. So you just click on the plus. So let's say we're going to add it to, we'll put it in our favorites this year. So you'll click on whichever Haggadah you want it to go into.
Yeah.
You'll pick the section. So this one, it's been posted on the site as in the introduction section, but maybe you want it in the 10 plagues or something, right? Maybe you want it somewhere else. So you just click whichever section you want it to go into. You click add clip, and then it'll say, hey, do you want to look at this clip in your Haggadah? And you can say, sure. And then now you'll see that clip. So I put it in the 10 plagues. So if I scroll down here to the 10 plagues, there it is. If I want to move it, I can move it to a different section. So I can say, no, you know what? I actually want it in Barech or something, right? So I can move it there. And what I can also do is within this section, I can move clips around. So I can say reorder, and I can just drag it and put it above the other one. You can also, if you want to add a clip to your section, you can open the, so what I did is just, I clicked, let me go back to there. I clicked on insert clip, and it'll take me to, this is clips that I've created. I can also pick out clips that I've bookmarked, and I can click on clips that have been contributed by others.
Oh.
And I can add these in as well.
Wow.
I can add in more than one if I want, and you just hit add selected clips and it's there.
Mm.
So yeah,
Wow.
it's a fun thing to play with. I definitely recommend taking the time to poke around and play with the different pieces of it. Any other questions? I'll also say, the other thing is on the site, we do have, I'll put the links in the, I'll make sure that Rachel gets these too, but we have some tutorials on the site.
Great.
So if you are looking for any other help about how to use everything, we have like a how it works, and we have an FAQs page. So I'll make sure that everybody gets those as well. In case you get stuck somewhere, that's really a good place to start with any kind of troubleshooting first. Awesome. Any other questions?
Well, I'm going to thank Rebecca then so much for her time this evening, and we will be sending out an email tomorrow with links and more information. I'm also putting in the chat the link to our Federation Passover happenings. Feel free to peruse. There's some other upcoming stuff happening, including a cooking demonstration with Michael Solomonoff later this week. And we hope that this, sorry, we've got chaos going on upstairs at my house. But I hope that this provided some tools for you in creating a meaningful Passover Seder this year. And again, thank you to Rebecca and Haggadot.com for joining us this evening. And we look forward to seeing you soon, hopefully and safely, healthfully, and in person.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone.